Excavations. In almost any construction scenario, there will come a time when earth needs to be moved or removed in order for the project to progress. Excavating is one of the most hazardous construction operations conducted on a site. If a collapse occurs while persons are working in an excavation, the result is normally catastrophic. It must be one of the worst ways to die, to be trapped underneath collapsed soil. The Occupational Health and Safety Act requires that all excavation work must be carried out under the supervision of a competent person who has been appointed in writing. Some excavation may involve the use of explosives. When explosives are involved, a method statement must be developed in accordance with the applicable explosive legislation. This must only be done by a competent person. The supervisor must make sure that the excavation work that involves explosives must be carried out in terms of this statement. Inspections of excavations must be made before every shift, after rain, after blasting, after groundfall, and after any damage. The appointed competent person must always keep the register up to date according to the inspections that are conducted. Excavation work presents serious hazards to all workers involved. Cave-ins pose the greatest risk and are much more likely than other excavation-related accidents to result in worker fatalities. In order to prevent this from happening, excavations must be adequately shored, braced, and supported, or the sides of the excavation are sloped to at least the maximum angle of repose measured relative to the horizontal plane. It is important to note that if the excavation is in stable material and is not shored or braced, and it is not possible to apply angle of repose, then persons may only enter the excavation after a competent person has examined the excavation and given written permission that it is safe to do so. Adequate and sufficient means of access to and exit from the excavation must be provided. This access must not be further than 6 meters from the point where any worker within the excavation is working. If the public is exposed to the excavation, then it must be adequately guarded with a barrier or fence. These barriers or fences must be of at least 1 meter in height and suitably illuminated at night with sufficient warning notices placed at the excavation. Make sure that warning signs are positioned next to excavations in which persons are working or carrying out inspections or tests. All excavated material must be placed a suitable distance away from the excavated area at the lowest side of the excavation. This is very important. Adding additional pressure to the edges of an excavation may cause the trench walls to collapse. The excavated material will collapse right back into the trench, burying any workers below. Vehicles must be directed so as not to come in close proximity of the excavation. An area being excavated can collapse under a vehicle's weight, crushing any persons working in the excavation. Here is a quick summary regarding excavation. Make sure all excavation work is carried out under the supervision of a competent person that has been appointed in writing. Check that a method statement is developed in accordance with the applicable explosive legislation when explosives are involved. Conduct regular inspections on the excavation before every shift, after rain, after blasting, after groundfall, and after any damage, and make sure the register is kept up to date at all times. Check that all excavations are adequately shored, braced, and supported, or that the sides are sloped to at least the maximum angle of repose measured relative to the horizontal plane. Check that the excavation has adequate and sufficient means of access. Make sure that the excavation is fenced off and barricaded with sufficient warning signs stating their presence. Make sure all excavated material is placed a suitable distance away from the excavation to prevent a potential collapse. All excavation work must be conducted in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, applicable regulations, and method statements.